that was the wrong decision, and then beat yourself up like the other decision would have been the better one. That's the funny thing, isn't it? When we make a decision and it doesn't pan out like we expect it to, we always presume that the other decision that we cast away would have been the right one. But there's nothing to say that that would have been any better. It could have even been worse. But we always presume when something isn't going our way that the other one must have been the right one. So it's, taking things as a lesson, seeing things as feedback. When something doesn't go right or not 100% to plan, it's a lesson. Take the feedback, also criticism. Yeah. But it's never too late to change it, to empower yourself. Other things that you might find that you're doing that's not helpful is you might compare yourself to others. So yeah, being okay with making mistakes. I think that's another thing, isn't it? People are fearful of getting it wrong, and you can see that. I was definitely somebody who would be fearful of getting it wrong. So then I would be like, that's why you wouldn't make a decision. And then if you had to do something, you would have to gain lots of reassurance from someone else that it was good enough, which it takes ages to do anything that way. If you can't be decisive, if you can't say I'm going to do this and just trust that you will make it work, that's the difference. It's not about having the right decision. It's about making a decision and then making that the right one. Exactly. by resilience and perseverance. And I'm not saying you should keep plowing on doing something even when it's definitely not going to work. You have to be able to recognize when to let something go, but not just going and throwing something away at the first obstacle. That was the wrong decision, and then beat yourself up like the other decision would have been the better one. That's the funny thing, isn't it? When we make a decision and it doesn't pan out like we expect it to, we always presume that the other decision that we cast away would have been the right one. But there's nothing to say that that would have been any better. It could have even been worse. But we always presume when something isn't going our way that the other one must have been the right one. So it's moving away from right and wrong decisions, isn't it? And it's moving
we're headed in the right direction anyway. So no matter what way, every detour, every delay is important, because it actually gives you more wisdom to take the right step next time. So there's no point in going backwards to the decision you think you should have made. It's using the decision you did make to make the next decision better.
Yeah. And that's a big tweak, isn't it? About feedback, like, taking things as a lesson, seeing things as feedback. When something doesn't go right or not 100% to plan, it's a lesson. Take the feedback, also criticism. Particularly being a teacher, we can get quite a lot of criticism in a constructive way. It's supposed to be constructive. We're supposed to, even if your lesson plan or your actual lesson that they observed or your book scrutiny, even if it was perfect, the person who's doing that scrutiny has to give you a point for improvement. So we need to be able to see that for what it is, which is like, it's an area to grow further. It's feedback. And when you see it as feedback and not criticism, it definitely does change things. I found that that's a big one for me, because once I'm taking it as feedback and not criticism, I'm less fearful of getting things wrong, because I'm like, well, if I get something wrong, it's all right, because I'm just going to get feedback on how to do it better next time. Whereas
I used to be the same. I used to get very, I suppose, triggered if somebody was showing me a better way to do something, or advising me that I wasn't doing it right. I get so angry and be like, don't tell me what to do. But then when I started to learn and grow, I was like, no, hold on now a second. If this person is actually giving me advice that can make my life easier and make me able to improve my skills, then I should appreciate this feedback rather than being angry towards it. And it's even in the last 6 months I've had to learn that. Do you know what I mean? And it's actually so beneficial, and I'm a better person now because I take on feedback better, and you just learn how to do things right, or improve things.
Yeah. So here's some other things that you might tell yourself. I'll do it when I'm ready. I'm terrible for that. I'm going to start on Monday. Or it's too late for me. I don't want to make a fool of myself. And I'll just stay where I am. It's not that bad. And I think a lot of people, in some ways, it's better if a situation is really bad because then it will push you into some action to get yourself out of it. It's a dangerous place where it's like not really comfortable, but not uncomfortable enough for you to feel motivated to get out of it, So, and I think
we sometimes we do need a bit of a wake up call to actually move us out of our comfort zone, because it can get a bit too comfortable. Yeah, so the universe comes in with these what I call terror moments. Initially it's a nudge and a nudge and a nudge, and you don't listen to the nudge because you're too comfortable, and then all of a sudden everything goes to shit, and it's like, oh, I better move now.
Yeah. And I can definitely relate to that. There's definitely, so that the anxiety attack definitely was that for me, and I also, when I got Bell's palsy, that also was a bit of a wake up call for me as well. So there are definitely times when you're like, you need a little shove to change something, to have a look at something. So if we're holding back, or we're stuck in this in-between place where it's not bad enough to make us want to move out of, but it's not really comfortable, but it's our comfort zone. We need to bear in mind that our comfort zone isn't really a comfortable place to be. It can cause anxiety and depression, a sense that something's missing. That's what I was like, I don't know what my purpose is. Like, I just don't feel like I'm fulfilling what I'm here for. I don't feel like I don't feel stretched, but then at the same time I don't want to stretch myself. It's that strange thing, isn't it?
It's, remember, I used to liken it to that boat. It's like you've got one foot in the past and one foot in the future, and the boats are drifting apart, like. And it gets to the stage where you're going to have to jump to one side at some stage, and you get to the stage as well where you don't want to jump back onto the old boat. You do want to jump onto the new one.
Yeah, you're waving goodbye.
Yeah, but you do. You need that stretch in between. You need that kind of the tug of war kind of to actually pull you out of that comfort zone.
Yeah, definitely. Feeling like life is passing you by, that might be another sign, that you're not fulfilled, or you're not really doing what you want to do. And I think a lot of the time people end up in professions not really because that's what they wanted to do. I think it's like just what they were expected to do. I think there's some families, you've got to get a good job, and the good job will be one of the caring professions, or a lawyer, or a doctor, or there'll be like the specific ones, and so people choose those when maybe actually what they wanted to be was an artist, but they're like, well, that's not really.
But that's it. I mean, you'll see that people, they call it a midlife crisis, but it's actually awakening to your truth and becoming empowered, because they did it the right way. They went to school. They did the job the parents wanted. They built a house beside their fucking mother. They married a farmer down the road. They did it all right. And then they get to a stage in their life and they don't feel fulfilled because they didn't do it their way. They did it the way society wanted it. And that's a question. I keep bringing back this question. Does it make you happy, or does it make society happy, or your parents happy? What do you actually want? The only way you empower yourself is by choosing the life that you want, making the decisions in alignment with your soul, and making the choices that are better for your health and your well-being, because that's what's most important. We can't help anyone unless we help ourselves. But if we're always sacrificing our own needs for other people by saying yes to things we should be saying no to, by not prioritizing what's important to us, this is where we're going to get depleted, and this is where this is where we get that disease, or health issues, or even mental health issues.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and but it's never too late to change it. To empower yourself. other things that you might find that you're doing that's not helpful is you might compare yourself to others. So, comparing yourself to other people that you went to school with, or, comparing your house to other people's houses, comparing, your holiday to other people's holidays, or whatever it is, comparison is the thief of joy. But if you're looking out at what other people have got, then that's probably a sign that you're not satisfied with what you've got. And that's, instead of looking and comparing, it's like looking at what can I change about what I've got that will make me feel more fulfilled. And it might not actually be changing anything externally. It wasn't for me, it was changing my relationship to the things that I do and myself, really. But
you water yourself. It's like the grass isn't greener on the other side. It's the grass is greener where you water it, and all you have to do really is water yourself.
yeah,
That's all. You put a bit of self-care, self-nourishment, self-awareness, self-respect even.
yeah,
All of that will empower yourself to change your life, and it all just starts with inner healing, and the rest actually just kind of flows. Once you work from within, everything else just falls into place.
absolutely. Another two things that might be a sign that you're holding back is avoiding difficult conversations. So you might be fearful of conflict. So that's dimming your voice, isn't it? It's pushing your voice. And I used to do this as well, dismissing compliments or downplaying your achievements. So I would be like, if someone goes, "Oh, I like your dress," you'd be like, "Oh, I've had it for 10 years.
Yeah. This old thing, I got it in pennies. Or Primark is in England, yeah. You know what I mean? It would be like the first thing we'd say is like, "Oh, I bought it really cheaply." That would be our comeback. It's like, just say thanks.
Yeah. So, and that's to do with your relationship with yourself and how you speak about yourself.
Yeah,
definitely downplaying achievements, I think, is a big one.
Yeah.
Like not wanting to celebrate your achievements with other people, or if somebody says well done, you're like, "Oh no, it's nothing,"
Yeah.
I definitely was somebody who would do that. Now I try to say thanks. Once actually, when I was trying to stop that thing where when someone gives you a compliment, I would poo on the compliment. So, but I went too much the other way, Afterwards, I was like, "Oh, that was a bit much." So I fixed the photocopier. Something was jammed in it, and I made it work anyway. And then someone said to me, "Oh, not just a pretty face, Carol." And I was like, "Well done for noticing that."
I love that. No, that's not too much at all. You know what I mean? That's what it reminds me of somebody commenting on one of my dog photos. It's like, "Oh, she's beautiful, isn't she?" And I goes, "Yeah, she gets her looks from her mommy." You know what I mean? Like the stuff like that. Why not? It's fun.
Yeah. So yeah, that's definitely one I had to unlearn, but that will change how you feel. Right. So why do we hold back? So we've talked a little bit about our filter, but we say this so much, but it's so true, that it's about when we're younger, isn't it, Angela? When we perhaps we have been, it's the way we've been brought up with our family. Maybe there were strict rules. Maybe somebody in the family was quite a big personality and didn't give you a chance to speak. Maybe you felt unsafe, maybe your early years weren't great. Maybe children were seen and not heard. Maybe you felt misunderstood. Maybe you were found it difficult to socialize at school initially, or maybe you were ridiculed. There's lots of reasons why in our early years it can leave us with this sense that our voice isn't important and our wants and needs are not important, and then we become people pleasers. It's about appeasing everybody else, and finding our value in other people's opinions of us. We don't value our own opinion.
Yeah, I've fierce experience with that. As a child, you're not seen and you're crying, but then later in life, or even just being told to shut up because your parent can't hear the television. This all bruises you, And then in relationships, toxic relationships especially, you're told to shut up, your opinion doesn't matter. And anytime you do become vulnerable, you end up being told more or less that you deserved everything you went through. So you get to a later stage in life and you just think, maybe I shouldn't say anything. Maybe I won't speak up. Maybe I just cope with the situation. And that is very disempowering. And, I've been going through that a lot lately myself. I lost my voice again. I relapsed. I lost my voice again. I was afraid of confrontation. I was afraid of speaking my truth. I was like, if I say what I feel, it's going to be invalidated, or it's going to be disrespected, or it's just not going to be heard. And I just spoke up anyway. If the person's not ready to hear me, that's fair enough. But I empowered myself by using my voice and voicing my needs anyway. And this is where it's so important. Don't let anyone take you for granted. Don't let anyone make you question your worth. And don't let anyone make you question whether your voice or your opinion matters, because it does. Your voice, your message, everything matters. So speak your truth. The right people will hear you, and the wrong ones aren't supposed to be in your life anyway. So set those boundaries and open to your truth, because this is how we gain our power again, and how we can actually live a more fulfilled life instead of being, I suppose, put in that corner again, or put into that box again by other people.
Yeah, absolutely. And what you might find is if you are someone who has been a bit of a people pleaser, that you may be surrounded by people who do take the mick, that don't really care, unfortunately. And that doesn't mean that everybody who takes advantage of your kind nature is not a good person. But if you do start to set boundaries with people and you get a negative response, or people are not listening, then you need to consider how much time you would spend with those people. Like, your inner circle should not be people that you have to keep asserting boundaries with, or, that you feel you can't speak your truth to. If you're fearful of conflict with your inner circle, you need to consider, should these be my inner circle? And actually, before you do that, you should try speaking your truth, because actually it could just be your perception of the pushback they would give you. So obviously, if they're your chosen inner circle, they're worth trying to fight for, aren't they?
Yeah. I've done that. And I've spoken it again, and then I spoke it again. And if you're not heard after a few times, then you're not speaking to the right person.
Yeah.
And you have to know that,
Yeah. And sometimes it might just be the wrong time for that person,
Yeah.
But, you shouldn't wait around for other people. You should speak, you need to have firm boundaries. And that doesn't mean that people won't go away and think about it and come back with the right attitude. But you have to let go of it, haven't you? You've got to be okay either way.
Exactly.
Yeah. So giving yourself affirmations can help. So I give myself permission to be me. I am safe to speak, to feel, and to grow. All those kinds of things. Affirmations are really great when you first wake up, if you don't look at your phone, because you're in the same state as when you're meditating in the first few minutes, 15 minutes of waking up, just before you go to sleep and just before you wake up. If you look at a screen, it takes you out of that. So, or meditation is a great time to say affirmations, and they may feel a bit strange at first. You might, but if you persist with it, you start to believe it, and you can feel a change, can't you?
That's the beauty of your unconscious mind. No matter what you tell, like if you're speaking ill of yourself, even as a joke, your unconscious mind is going to believe it. So if you start to speak highly of yourself, no matter whether or not you believe it, your unconscious mind is going to believe it. So therefore, you can have just blind faith and say you're brilliant, and you'll eventually believe it, and then you will actually become brilliant. So therefore, it does actually work.
Yeah. Well, I was saying I'm going to cry, even though I was no good at crying. Now, I'm going to cry. So there you go. It worked for me.